Hey everybody, this is Derek, and recently I just finished making a video called The Law of Attraction. The ratings were quite weaker than expected. I was expecting between 3.9 and 4.1, and it was around 3. 3.2 I think was the last number that I had checked. And that's much lower than expected, so I'm trying to figure out why this is the case. Normally when I make a lot of videos, it is about 4.8 to 4.9. If I were to make an economic video about gold, silver, what's going on in the economy and today's unemployment, whatever, I'd be expecting 4.8 to 4.9, if not 4.9 to 4.97. I've had some pretty high ratings. And the reason why I was expecting 4 is it seems that a lot of people are scared of love, people are scared of positivity, and scared of reality. Why? Not exactly sure. But nonetheless, that is what the case happens to be. When I first made these videos about positivity and love, the ratings were about 3.5. And I was surprised in 2009 when I did a new series of these kind of videos that they were about 4.2 to 4.4. I was like, wow, this is amazing. I didn't expect that. I was expecting like 3.7, 3.8, and they were much better than expected. I still don't know why that was the case. The only reason why was because of my theory of love going higher and higher. That was the only theory I could think of. And I think one of the big reasons why I had lower ratings is because I was talking about stuff that's not this cycle, but the next cycle. Because we're right now at the midway point of the 8th galactic underworld cycle on the Mayan calendar. And that is that of ethics and truth. The next one that will precede that will be conscious co-creating. So, because we're moving into the conscious co-creating stage and we're still a full cycle away from when that cycle will overturn into the primary cycle, most people are going to be very confused by the issue, as they should be. It's like asking somebody in the 1940s what they think about ethics and truth. They have no idea because of the cycle that they were in. And that just seems to be, I guess, pretty normal. I think a lot of the reason why people also rate it is because of that energy of fear. When I talk about rating it 1, that is. Because of fear. They are scared of love, they are scared of reality, and because of the negativity within them, that's why the action for that is done. And that seems as if pretty normal. Alrighty, so when I talk about what humans are creative or what we are capable of and how powerful that we are, I wouldn't be saying this kind of stuff and taking all this time to do these videos if I didn't feel it to be true. And that's why I'm talking a lot about this. People within the New Age community say how powerful it is, how all the magnificent things that we are capable of doing. And we have to figure out what it is to be that powerful, amazing creator. And it's a process and not an event. And because we're at this cycle, we are still a little ways away. When you have consciousness cycles that have yet to reach us, that means the level that we can understand them or get the grasp of them are very low. And I've talked about how humans can barely understand the law of attraction. That's because we're in the middle of the 8th cycle, and people aren't going to really know the law of attraction all that well to the middle of the 9th cycle, which if the final date is December 21st, 2012, this isn't going to happen until Halloween of 2012. That's a decent amount of time away. And we're at the process now during that period where we're going to find out more for who we are and who we want to become. And to me, I think that's a very exciting moment. And I've talked about this being the ethics and truth age, and when you look around us, it's pretty evident to see that's the case. And that's the key thing, evident, which is that of evidence. When there's no proof for something, all you can use is evidence. There's nothing else. And I think the evidence to state that we're in a truth and ethics cycle seems pretty clear when we look at everything that's around us and the stuff that's going on within at least the alternate media source. So now I look at the 911 Commission report. The 911 Commission report, many people whom are truth seekers would state that this is bogus. Yes, there might be some stuff that is true in it, but there's a lot of stuff that the powers that be, or the New World Order, Illuminati, Bilderberg, Bohemian Grove, whatever you want to call them, have put in there for their own agenda. And I think there's a good evidence to state that to be the truth. And what I find very interesting is that there's a lot of people who call themselves truth seekers who are looking for all this type of stuff, trying to get the information that they need to find out what is right and wrong, yet they will not debunk and look to see what their religion has to say. Because in my opinion, it seems as if that the Bible is just like the 911 Commission report. It was written by the powers that be, or in the Bible's case, the powers that were. There's a lot of truth within it, but they have an agenda, and the stuff that they really want to point out, they're going to do so. And I just think that's very normal when you have people whom are evil and in charge to be in charge and have the world the way it is. Because to say that the powers that were had no control over what was going on within religion in the Bible is, to me, a very ludicrous statement. And I think people rated my video 1 star also because of how crazy things may have sounded. And for that, I think that's pretty cool. Because when things sound really, really crazy and offbeat, it's really hard to believe it. If I'm to tell you that outside right now, I have an elephant that's 500 feet tall that's walking around, you're not going to believe me because that sounds way too crazy and not possible, as you should. And what I find very interesting is you hear stuff about things like, okay, when you die, you're going to go up to this magical place where this God's going to come up to tell you, and you're going to be judged for what you have done. And you're either going to be going to heaven or to hell for eternity where there's a lot of fire. Is that not the same as me talking about that previous story? I mean, to me, that seems very ludicrous. And one of my videos that I was talking about yesterday was that of mind control. And I have to say that the people whom were in charge of religion did a magnificent job in using mind control to making people believe such a statement that just makes no sense whatsoever. Okay, so we can say everything's all about evidence, and that's right. So we got no proof that what I just said about going to hell or heaven and being judged after you die being true. All we can use is that of evidence. And I would like to point out, where do we have evidence for this issue? I have seen none. Absolutely none whatsoever. So to me, it's about the same as far as 911 Commission report and the Bible. Those books are very similar as far as my perspective is concerned. And when I look at religion, it seems as if it's a lot like a fear-mongering tool, which is very unfortunate for some, because there seems to be two ways of being motivated. You can be motivated out of fear, or you can be motivated out of love. I'm going to use football for this example. You look at a coach like a Bill Belichick, or a previous, who was the coach of the Giants? So, I mean, why can't I not get it? The Giants head coach that won the Super Bowl, Tom Coughlin. Tom Coughlin, like 5 years ago, was the meanest SOB in the world. And when you were playing for Mr. Coughlin, you were in massive fear. That's how he motivated you. Now, as time moved on, he evolved and he removed a lot of that fear, which was so magnificent. In fact, the year that he really removed a lot of the fear, they won the Super Bowl. And then you look at a coach like, say, Tony Dungy, or former coach Tony Dungy of the Indianapolis Colts. This guy never screamed at his players, never yelled at his players, and was a positive coach out of love. So there's two different ways in which you can be motivated. So I'm not going to say that if you get motivated out of fear that it's the wrong way. All I'm saying is when that's the case, whatever reaction you get from being motivated from fear is going to happen. And of course, the reaction from being motivated out of love would obviously follow that also. And to me, when I look at a lot of what that's being said in the religion, I look at stuff like how they talk about different gods, and especially the Christianity one, I think, and I think the Catholic one too, they'll talk about stuff, how Jesus is the only God. And you can see how much they believe those beliefs when you hear them talking about the Zeitgeist series, especially the first one when they actually talked about religion. After viewing that part, they talked about different gods that have appeared on the planet. So what? And yet they talk about how that's an attack on the religion, and to me that seems like nowhere near as an attack. If that's an attack on religion, then this is attack 10 times greater, especially with the stuff I'm about to say. And so be it. I'm just talking about what seems to be reality, seems to be truth. We are in the ethics cycle, and for myself, I feel it's only ethical to know what reality happens to be. It's only ethical to know truth. It's unethical to be given lies. So whether I like the truth or not, I want to know it. And many people who don't want to know the truth, or because they don't like it, they deny it or they avoid it. And if they're very closed-minded to it, then how can you know the truth? Because the door is masterly closed with like a billion different locks on it that's more secure than the vault at the top banks type thing. So they talk about how Jesus is this big God, and how if you sin and do all these bad stuff, to me, like I say, that's motivating out of fear, because obviously you want to do good stuff. I mean, you don't want to do negative things. You look at what they call like the 10 Commandments. If you do any of those things, then you are going to do you're doing negative things. And as far as the law of attraction is concerned, when you do any of those sins, or if you commit those sins, that's the action. What's the reaction from those sins? Because the first conscious cycle of the Mayan calendar is action-reaction. So what's the reaction from creating those sins? And I don't think it would be positivity. I'd have to say that they'd be negativity. So yes, they got the point in wanting you to do good things, but like I say, this is how they're motivating. They're motivating out of fear rather than that out of love. At least it seems evidently clear for that to be the case. And it's unfortunate that religions or churches are not using words like chakras or even the law of attraction itself. As what I see out of religion is that they don't teach how to love. It's sort of like if you want to become an amazing football player, I can tell you what Peyton Manning was doing. Oh, we got 4 touchdowns this game. He was able to see the defense well here. Okay, that was great that he did it, but how did he do it? And that's exactly what the comparison I see towards religion. Okay, Jesus did all this, he did all that, we're supposed to do that, but how do we do that? That's the thing. It just seems as if that they're not teaching us how to love. And I think one of the things you really need to teach for love is that of the chakra systems, because it seems evident, or there seems like to be evidence towards that the chakras contain a lot of bad traumas and negativity. You got to remove those negative emotions and negative stuff from the chakras, thus replacing it with positivity. I know myself, I had to go through a heck of a lot of work to remove these traumas, and because of that, I started removing them in 2006, I think, 2007, and 2007 was the 3rd best year of my life, 2008 was my 2nd best year, and 2009 was the best year of my life. And I have a big feeling that when you work within the chakras, you are able to remove a lot of the negative stuff that's within us. And another big thing is it's because they are scared to evolve and move forward. That's a big problem. That's a big problem in my opinion. Because I know myself, after reading the book Conversations with God, at that point there, I was able to learn how to love from that book. Something religion was never, ever able to teach me. This book did extremely well at doing so, because this type of book was motivated out of positivity, thus not motivated out of fear, for that matter. So it's that's, to me, I think, what is very important. When you see what helps you that to me is the best way of going about it. So how are you supposed to love other people if you're not able to love yourself? It doesn't seem clear, yet they're going to say, oh, you got to love Jesus, you got to love others, which is beneficial for somebody because you don't have to do it. We have free will. We can do whatever we want. But if you don't love yourself, you're not going to love others, and your life is going to be a living hell. If you do love yourself, you're going to love others, and your life is going to be a living heaven. That's what seems like it is. That's what seems to be true for me, based on the few years of getting as much out of the negativity as I can, and just putting as much positivity in the best that I possibly can. I mean, I got a heck of a long ways to go, but it's a process and not an event. It's not like you wake up one day and everything's massively changing. If it is, there's a lot more to change on top of that. And I look at stuff like Jesus Christ, and do I worship him? The answer is no, I do not. I don't even know if the guy existed, and it doesn't even really matter as far as I'm concerned. But what does matter is I look at what the stuff that he was doing, or at least the so-called stuff that he was doing, stuff like loving his own enemies, like healing the level that he did, being as positive for so long. I look at that type of stuff and I figure, well, how did he do it? And religions aren't going to tell you how he did it. They're just going to say that he did do it. How do you use the law of attraction? What was it that he did? And when you are able to figure more and more about that, then you are able to do more and more of what he was able to do. So if you are really interested in wanting to heal a lot of people, then you got to figure out how to use the law of attraction to heal. It's just that simple. Of course, the theory of doing it is simple. Actually figuring it out, well, that's hard, but come on. Life is very hard. Life is a major challenge. Therefore, I'm accepting the challenge, and let's have some fun. This is a video game of life. It's the hardest game we've ever had. It's the best game that we've ever had. And if religion really wanted to be very, very sane, which I don't think that they are, then I think they'd have to evolve with modern times. Forget as much or what we don't need of the past. Understand what the now is all about, because we're always living in the now moment. You can know what you want about the future, but until you get there, you're always going to be in the current now. And you want to understand, what does this now have for me to bring? What do we like? What's available to me? What can I do as far as expectations? And then actually going out and physically doing the now. And I think also it would be a little sane if, like I said, if the religions would teach you how to love. And one way of doing that would be to add extra material, sort of like that Conversations with God book. I'm not saying just get rid of the Bible and replace it with Conversations with God. No, I'm saying add extra material along the way. And this way they can help people in finding out who they are and finding out what is needed to remove negativity from the chakra system, and thus putting positivity towards the chakra system. But it seems as if that most religions are very closed-minded in the future. So that's one reason why I was very happy to leave organized religion. And I want to finish this off by talking about something within religion that does disturb me. And that is the cross of Jesus Christ. You see a lot of different images of the cross, and that's a little bit disturbing, but what is more disturbing is seeing images of him on the cross. And I'm saying this because would it be disturbing if you had a child who was raped and you had pictures all over your house of the moment she was getting murdered, or he was getting murdered? Because that's what happened with Jesus. He got murdered on the cross, if of course that story is correct. And myself, I'm like, no, I want to see pictures of the beautiful pictures where he's actually helping out people, where he's smiling, where he's got a beautiful face. That's the type of pictures that I actually enjoy seeing. And some people will come out and say, well, he died for our sins. And this just goes back to the whole start of this when I was talking about the whole hippopotamus thing, or this whole going up to heaven and hell thing. Does that story make any sense to you? What evidence do we have that this is the case? There, to me, isn't any. But people have been very gullible, in my humble opinion, in believing a lot of this kind of stuff. And I think a lot of the credit has to go for the magnificent job that the powers that were did in brainwashing us humans. See, I'm thankful now that I know brainwashing exists, and I can brainwash myself the way that I want to the best of my abilities. That's what I'm doing. I think you got to remove negative brainwashing first. Thus, then you can add the new stuff that you think is best for you, because humans are always in the case of being brainwashed. It seems very evident to me that a lot of people have been gullible to believe this kind of information, because I don't see any evidence for it. I want to know truth. I want to see evidence, and then evidence will thus bring us proof in the future. Thank you for watching, and have yourself a magnificent day. Bye-bye, everybody.